Izuku didn't realize he'd turned back. His feet carried him along familiar streets, past corners he'd walked 1,000 times, until the front gate was suddenly in front of him, and the house loomed up like it always had. The sight barely registered. He opened the door on autopilot and stepped inside. The noise hit him first. Voices, the TV murmuring, the clatter of dishes, the kids arguing over something trivial and loud. Everyone was back. Izuku closed the door behind him and slipped out of his shoes, movements quiet and automatic. He kept his head down, already rehearsing an apology for being out too long, already preparing to retreat upstairs. He took 2 steps into the entryway. Then everything stopped. Ms. Arai was standing near the kitchen counter. She froze mid-motion, grocery bag still in her hands. Her partner, sitting at the table helping one of the younger kids with something, looked up and went very still. Izuku blinked, confused. "Did I do something wrong?" he asked softly. His voice sounded strange to his own ears, thicker, unsteady. Neither of them answered right away. Ms. Arai set the bag down slowly, too slowly. Her eyes never left his face. "Izuku," she said carefully, "what happened?" He frowned. "Nothing happened, I just went on a walk." That was when he noticed the silence. The kids had stopped arguing. One of them stared at him from the hallway, eyes wide, uncertain. Izuku lifted a hand to rub at his face, irritated at the attention. And his fingers came away wet. He froze. Slowly, like the motion might break something, he touched his cheek again, then under his eye. Tears. His breath caught sharply. His voice broke immediately. He hadn't even known he was crying. Hadn't felt it start. The thoughts had been too loud, too crowded, drowning out everything else. Ms. Arai crossed the room in 3 quick steps. "Oh, Izuku," she said, and there was no restraint left in her voice now. Just worry, raw and unmistakable. She stopped just in front of him, not touching yet, like she was afraid he might flinch. "Hey, look at me." He tried. He really did. But his vision blurred worse, tears spilling faster now that he'd noticed them. "I'm sorry," he whispered automatically, shoulders curling inward. "I didn't mean to, I didn't even know I." Her hands came up gently, warm on his shoulders, steadying him. "You don't have to apologize," she said firmly. "Not for this." Her partner stood as well, concern etched deep into his face. "You've been crying the whole time you were out, haven't you?" Izuku swallowed hard and nodded, shame burning hot in his chest. "I didn't notice," he admitted, voice small. "I was just thinking." Ms. Arai's expression softened painfully. "That doesn't mean it didn't hurt," she said. The kids hovered uncertainly at the edge of the room, suddenly quiet, sensing something serious even if they didn't understand it. Izuku stood there, tears still slipping free, feeling exposed in a way iron never made him feel. Vulnerable, seen. For so long, he'd been alone with his thoughts that he hadn't realized how much they'd been tearing him apart. And now, standing in the doorway of the house he'd cleaned that morning, surrounded by people who had noticed his absence and his pain, he finally felt it. The weight. The fear. The loneliness. Ms. Arai squeezed his shoulders gently. "You don't have to explain anything right now," she said. "Just breathe, you're home." Izuku nodded, chest hitching as he tried to do exactly that. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't alone with his tears. And even though he still didn't know what he was allowed to dream, that, at least, felt real. Izuku slept on the couch. He hadn't argued when Ms. Arai guided him there. Hadn't even really responded. He'd curled in on himself almost immediately, arms tucked close, breath shallow at first before evening out into something steadier. Now he was still. Too still. Ms. Arai stood a few steps away, watching him like she was afraid he might disappear if she looked away. A blanket had been pulled up to his shoulders, careful not to wake him. His hair fell messily over his eyes, damp at the edges where tears had dried. Her partner joined her quietly, hands in his pockets. "He didn't even make it upstairs," he murmured. She shook her head. He barely made it through the door. They watched Izuku sleep for a long moment. In rest, the strain showed more clearly. The faint shadows under his eyes, the tension that didn't fully leave his shoulders, even unconscious. "Has he been sleeping?" she asked softly. "I don't know," he replied. "I don't think so, not well." Ms. Arai swallowed. "Look at him, he's 14 and he looks exhausted. Not tired, exhausted." Her partner's jaw tightened. "He's always kept to himself. We thought that was just how he was." "He's always been quiet," she agreed. "Independent, polite, he never asks for anything." Her voice wavered slightly. "I thought that meant he was okay." They both knew better now. "Lately," he said, lowering his voice further, "it's different. He's not just quiet, he's hiding." The words sat heavy between them. Ms. Arai nodded slowly. "I've noticed it too. He disappears into his room, goes on long walks. Those notebooks." She glanced toward the hallway. "He looks like he's carrying something he doesn't want anyone to see." Her gaze drifted back to Izuku. "And it's showing," she continued. "The bags under his eyes, the way he flinches when he thinks he's in trouble, even when he's not." They stood there, helpless and aching. "We missed something," her partner said quietly. "Yes," she replied, "we did." Not out of neglect, not out of cruelty, but because Izuku had learned how to take up as little space as possible, and they had mistaken that for strength. Ms. Arai reached out and gently adjusted the blanket around his shoulders, fingers brushing his arm briefly. "He cleaned the house today," she whispered. "Every room." Her partner closed his eyes. "As a thank you," he said, "for us." She nodded, tears stinging now, even when he was falling apart. They fell silent again, listening to Izuku's steady breathing, the small, fragile proof that he was still here. "We need to do better," Ms. Arai said finally. "Not by pushing, not by demanding answers." Her partner nodded. "By being here, by noticing." She looked down at Izuku one more time, heart aching with a fierce, quiet resolve. "Whatever he's carrying," she said softly, "he doesn't have to carry it alone anymore." Izuku slept on, unaware of the promise being made over him, unaware that the space he'd tried so hard not to take up was finally, unmistakably, being held. Ms. Arai moved first. She glanced once more at Izuku, at the way he'd curled toward the edge of the couch, as if making room even in sleep, then gently gestured toward the kitchen. Her partner nodded, understanding immediately. They stepped carefully away, feet light on the floor. Behind them, one of the younger kids stirred and padded quietly into the living room, dragging a blanket. Another followed, rubbing sleep from their eyes. Without a word, they settled near the couch, one curled at Izuku's feet, another leaning against the side, close but not touching too much. Ms. Arai paused at the doorway, heart tightening. "They want to be near him," she whispered. Her partner smiled faintly. "They always do." They didn't move them. They just turned off the lamp, leaving the room dim and safe, then slipped into the kitchen and closed the door softly behind them. Only then did Ms. Arai exhale. She leaned against the counter, folding her arms as if holding herself together. "He's been on edge," she said quietly, "for a week now." Her partner nodded, pouring 2 glasses of water and sliding one toward her. "I noticed it too, the way he startles, the way he goes still when someone raises their voice, even if it's not at him. And the packing," she added. "He walks like his thoughts won't let him sit down." She hesitated, then continued, voice dropping further. "Have you noticed what he does when he's nervous?" He frowned slightly. "You mean his chest?" "Yes," she said immediately, relieved she wasn't imagining it. "Every time he's overwhelmed, he presses right here." She mirrored the motion over her own sternum, like he's trying to anchor himself. Her partner's expression grew serious. "I've seen that. Today, when he came back, he did it without realizing." They stood there, the refrigerator humming softly behind them. "It's like he's grounding himself," he said slowly, "like he's trying not to float apart." Ms. Arai closed her eyes briefly. What kind of 14-year-old needs to do that? The question hung unanswered. They didn't say asterisk stress. They didn't say anxiety. They didn't say trauma. They just stood there, both painfully aware that something was happening inside Izuku that they didn't have language for yet. He's always been good at hiding, Ms. Arai said at last. Too good. He learned early that being low maintenance meant being safe. Her partner nodded, and we let him. Not out of indifference, out of trust, a trust that now felt misplaced. He shouldn't have to self-soothe like that, she whispered. Not alone. They both fell quiet again, listening through the walls to the faint, steady rhythm of breathing in the living room. Izuku, the kids, all of them together. He's not alone anymore, her partner said, more firmly now, even if he doesn't know it yet. Ms. Arai straightened, resolve settling into her bones. Then we start showing him, slowly, gently. She glanced toward the doorway again, imagining green hair on a pillow, small hands curled too tightly even in sleep. We don't need to know everything, she said. We just need to notice and stay. In the living room, Izuku slept on, grounded not by his own hand this time, but by the quiet, unwavering presence gathering around him. Morning came softly. Sunlight filtered in through the living room curtains, pale and quiet, dust motes drifting lazily in the air. Izuku woke slowly, consciousness returning in pieces, warmth, weight, unfamiliar closeness. He froze. There were kids around him. One was curled against the back of the couch, thumb tucked near their mouth. Another lay,